What's up, YouTubers? This is just a short video on what some people are calling the Great Reset. Recently there's been a lot of talk about how this is the Great Reset. This is in relation to the coronavirus and the government's response and reaction to closing down the world economy. I'm most specifically talking about North America and Europe and a little bit of Australia and New Zealand. If you don't know, during the coronavirus crisis, most or all those countries had economic policies where they either increased the money supply for economic bailouts of those said countries, or they paid out, that's basically it. They paid out funds to deal with the economic crisis as it happened. Some of them just borrowed money and spent it, others just printed the money. And then now we're coming out of that crisis somewhat, and now we seem to be going back into a crisis where we're going to be borrowing money again because the economy is slowing down, and also too the coronavirus appears to be picking up all over the world, and at least some countries are going to reclose their economy or partially reclose the economy, which will put pressure on countries to have another bailout. It appears the first bailout wasn't enough. We're already starting to see some slowdowns from all that, especially in North America. Also too, in the EU, they tried to put through a $1 trillion bailout. I don't believe they did. They had a pretty tough time, but I think eventually they'll get to that. So they'll get a $1 or $2 trillion recovery going over there, or bailout. They'll probably get a $2 trillion or $4 trillion here. But with the recent election, that might not be guaranteed. It appears that we might have gridlock in North America or in the United States. So this is just my reaction to all that. And since all this has happened, lots of people have been talking about how the Great Reset's going to cause hyperinflation, which incidentally is not my view. I just believe we'll have massive inflation, not now, but more in the future. I believe that's also why gold hasn't really responded too much. If you haven't been paying attention, gold went from a high of 2,100 to down to, got as low as 1790 recently. Now it's about 1800 again today. As I make this video, it's December the 2nd, 2020. But do I really think this is a Great Reset? My opinion is we're going to have a slowing economy, and eventually we might have another disinflationary or deflationary scare, which might cause the dollar to strengthen again. Recently it's been weak against the euro. Right now as I speak, the euro is at 120, almost 121 to the dollar. The Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi have all been struggling against the US dollar. There's been a few emerging market currencies tanking against the dollar, like Brazil, Argentina, Turkey. But one currency that's appreciating against the dollar would be the Mexican peso. That's an emerging market currency that's appreciating actually. Another thing is, if the dollar gets too weak, I think you might see coordinated efforts by all central banks to stop that. I'm not sure it'll work though with all the money printing going on, but we'll have to see. But I do think we're seeing another slowdown in the economy, where we're going to see the EU and the United States Central Bank try to coordinate and do some kind of big worldwide bailout to try to bail out their economies, which over a long period of time I would guess would weaken the US dollar. I'm just not big on it's going to crash and burn and collapse like many people think. I just think it'll just go lower. It could lose 50% of its value against some of our trading partners like the EU or the Canadian dollar, possibly the Aussie dollar and the Kiwi. That would be a big drop against those currencies, so I'm not really seeing it, but you could see it fall half against the euro, 50% against the euro, but time will tell. I do believe all that will be managed by, they'll try to manage it. It could get out of hand and chaotic. It's partly why you should probably own some gold and some Bitcoin to offset all that. Now, that's just my view. The economies are going to slow down. The foreign central banks will keep printing money and doing big bailout packages for the banks and for big corporations. And there's a possibility that we might see UBI, which is Universal Basic Income in the US. I think if we do see that, they'll just call it unemployment, and it will have permanent unemployment for the underclasses. It's not here yet, but it's a possibility. You might see universal basic income in the EU, but I'm still not convinced it'll happen there. But if these things become reality, you'll see them pay for it not through higher taxes, but through deficit spending and just printing of money. You've probably heard of negative interest rates. Well, they're here. Well, they have been in the EU, and I think Japan. But you might, and I think they're for a short period of time. There's some negative interest rates in the States. I haven't looked recently, but we could get to the point where, the Federal Reserve doesn't let interest rates rise. Like right now, as we speak, on December 2nd, 2020, there's been quite a bit of a rally in the U.S. stock market. There's been quite a bit of enthusiasm with the vaccine for the coronavirus that things are going to go back to normal. And so the market's been rallying and interest rates have been going up a little bit. I think that's short-lived. I think we'll get back to another, like in 6 months to a year, we could have a slowing economy, we could have a deflationary scare and then a spike in the dollar. Or it could just continue weakening. I don't know. But my view is we're just slowly going down, our economy, and the same in the EU, that we're not going to have a big collapse. It's going to be a managed slowdown or managed collapse, if you want to call it that. And to try to get out of that, you're going to see governments print money and print money and print money. And then when it slowly circulates through the economy, you'll start seeing prices rise in the EU, United States, North America in general. That's when we'll have to see if the Federal Reserve and the EU will allow rates to rise. I say allow because if they don't intervene in the markets to lower rates will start going up, and I think they're not going to allow that. They're going to do the best they can to suppress that with negative rates, and that will really potentially could tank the dollar. I just don't think it'll be hyperinflation. I think it'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% inflation, somewhere in there, but slowly over time, which would be really devastating to the average saver, and it will really discourage savings and cause a huge amount of misallocation of capital. I want to say a few words on digital currencies. More and more now, the Federal Reserve and the EU have papers out on how they want to have central bank digital currencies. I think they could potentially be introduced into the economies if there's another big bailout of banks, or if they need to be bailed out again. It could be they allow banks to go under, and then they issue these cryptocurrencies, these central bank cryptocurrencies, where they give to depositors this new digital currency and they let the banks go under. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think that's a possibility. The danger under those kinds of circumstances is you have to sign their terms and condition, accept the wallet to get your deposit, and then the government can control where your money goes, where it can't go. So it'll be somewhat like China, in that we'll have a credit system here. You won't be allowed to spend the money on what you want. They'll shut you off if you try to invest it in gold or whatever to try to get out of the system. So I'm not sure that would really be successful, but that may be a way they go to try to get out of all this. So that's enough of what I think about central bank digital currencies. My thoughts on the whole matter is, as of now, gold is not really doing much. It's been trending down. I don't believe it'll go up until we see a big package either in the United States or the EU where they really can get the Congress here and in the EU. I don't know how it works there, but get the politicians to sign on a big bailout package. Until that happens in Germany, until that happens here in the US, I expect gold to trend down. As of right now, technology stocks are trending up, Bitcoin's trending up in the cryptocurrencies. And for those of you who don't know, the Swiss National Bank was made famous by continuously devaluing their currency against the euro and the dollar, and then the Central Bank of Switzerland buys Apple stock. That could be where these central banks go, where they prop up part of the economy buying these big tech stocks, and it could be a way they go to preserve the value of their own assets by owning either Bitcoin and or these big tech stocks like Apple. That's partly why I think these tech stocks are booming, because that's the idea, is you can protect yourself through rising inflation with these technology stocks and or by buying Bitcoin. And so my thoughts are, to do an end around all this, to protect yourself, you'll need to own a little bit of gold. a little bit of Bitcoin and possibly some land. I wouldn't buy any real estate till we're 2 years into the recession, at least in North America. And I wouldn't put a whole lot of money in Bitcoin. I would, whatever risk you want to manage, but 5 or 10%. I can't tell you what to own for gold, 5 or 10%. Everyone's different, but the more you own, the more risk you're willing to manage, the more money you'll make before this is all over. The biggest thing you do to hedge all this risk is to start your own business. Start your own online business, start your own brick and mortar business if that's appropriate for you, and try to have an income that's not dependent on any location where you earn money online, or you can be anywhere in the world to earn this. So as big countries in North America and Europe clamp down on people's civil liberties and personal freedoms, you can immigrate or migrate towards Latin America or Asia, run your online business, and already have your crypto wallet set up, your Bitcoin wallet set up, your gold accounts set up with all your banks so you can fund all this. At least you still can now. You can buy gold and Bitcoin pretty easy. You can go to goldmoney.com. You can also buy gold through one of the currencies called, it's an ETH currency, it's called Pax Gold, where you basically buy a token that represents 1 ounce of gold or a fractional amount of that. If you go on the exchanges, they're all different, but some of them allow you to buy up $15 to $20. If you go on a Pax Gold, it's about $15 worth. I'm not sure what it is on Gemini, but Gemini does sell that coin. I think you have to buy $20 or $30 minimum, but you can try it out. You can check out put your ETH address on the blockchain to see your partial ownership of gold through that coin if you want to try out Pax Gold. But we're now living in a world where it's easier and easier to protect your assets through digitalizing things. It's now easier and easier to have digital assets that pay you money wherever you live, and that's going to be very helpful when we go through these trying times, having assets that are online that you can earn money from, and or living in another country where you have more freedom and liberty to start up a brick and mortar business and live how you want to live. And if I'm wrong and there really is a hyperinflation, you'd probably want to head to Latin America where there's more of a slower pace of life, but where I don't know how to put it, but it's easy to buy stuff in those countries because so many people have gardens and farms, so it's easy to survive there if there actually was a hyperinflation. But that's not really my view. But if you do really believe things are winding down, you'd want to head there now, build some stakes up there, build some trust up there with the community, and be in a place where you can grow your own food or buy it real easy. So many people grow food down there, you will never starve down there. At least that's been my experience. It's easy to buy fresh eggs and fresh vegetables and things like that. It's fairly affordable. Anyways, this is my little piece on the Great Reset and how I see it unfolding. Leave a comment if you think I'm wrong. Leave a comment on how you see it unfolding. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.